It's now time for the fantasy season to start. Whether or not you're happy with how the draft went, or you feel like you need to still do some tinkering with your team, this is the time to do it. We've got 2 weeks until the season begins for real. Plenty of time to still make adjustments. A lot of the times, leagues are not won just from the draft. They're won by the trades that you make throughout the season and the players that you add and drop through free agency, as well as week-to-week adjustments to your team, moving players from your bench between the bench and the starting lineup. Let's go to the team. Okay, now this is my team. The draft is concluded. All my team information up here. My current matchup, who am I playing? So I'm playing the Oceanside Outlaws next, and then Mike's team next week. All right, I'm just going to go run through and show you basically everything that I'm going to do post-draft. Maybe not all this will apply to your team, but it could apply to your team in the future. The draft is concluded. I look at my team. For week one, what I want to look at is all of my players, are they going to play? Some of them might not play. Joe Mixon, this is a great example. I'm going to zoom in on Joe Mixon. He's got an 0 for out, and his projected points over here per player is 0. As soon as you see that, you should be getting warning signs saying, okay, what's up with that player? I need to investigate. So I'm going to click on Joe Mixon. There's an option to drop him. I'm not going to do that. And then here, what I consider trade offers, I can click definitely if I want people to know that I am interested in them proposing trades for Joe Mixon, or not likely if I want to keep him. I'm just going to put maybe. Okay, his estimated return is September 7th. Let's go down here to the outlook. His overall projection, that's sort of helpful, more so for the draft. What you need to do is scroll down to recent news. The recent news is the most important thing when you're reading about your players each week. This is going to give you the insights that you need to decide whether or not you want to start them or bench them for that week. Mixon, foot ankle, is not a lock to be ready for the week one matchup. And he missed the off-season program. Okay, I'm not feeling great about that. And then it also says down here, all the transactions that happened for Joe Mixon. So if he's traded during the season, it'd show it down here. If he's dropped, it'll show it down here, but it shows that I drafted him for $2. If you forget what the prices were in the draft, it's down here. I don't feel comfortable that he's going to start week one. Then I can also come over here to these percentages. Percentage ST is percent started. 25% of fantasy owners are starting Joe Mixon this week, and that's because I think most people are catching on that he's injured and he's not going to be playing. And then percent rostered is what percentage of leagues have Joe Mixon on a team. The inverse of that means that in 10% of leagues, Joe Mixon is a free agent, so he would be available to pick up. Just interesting stats. And then the 2025 projections, that's saying that ESPN predicts that Joe Mixon will score 198.5 points in the season as a total, with an average of 15 points per week. That's helpful information as well when you're doing trades. I paid $2 for Joe Mixon in the draft, but the draft was kind of funky with prices, so don't concern yourself too much with the prices. You should really be concerned with what their potential is. If I'm trying to trade away Joe Mixon, realistically, I should be trying to offer somebody with a comparable projection. If I don't think Joe Mixon is going to play this week, I'm going to press move. And let's see, since he's a running back and he's in the running back slot, I could either move him down to the flex, because flex can be wide receiver, a tight end, or a running back, but he's not going to play, so I'm not going to do that. Then it only gives you options for other running backs. So then I go down here, who do I want to start instead of Joe Mixon, right? Joe Mixon's not going to get any points. I come down here. Let's see. Here are my options. Rachaad White, 7.9 projected points this week, but he also has questionable health. Maybe I click on him. What's up with Rachaad? Okay, he'll be back this week. That's fine, but only 7.9 points. That's not a lot to be starting a player. Ramondre Stevenson, 11.3. Zach Charbonnet, 8.6 points projected this week. Braylon Allen only 4.5. I think I'm going to have to pick Ramondre Stevenson, even though he's questionable. Let's see when he's supposed to return. Oof, same thing as Joe Mixon. So then I go down here. He's been managing an unspecified injury. Not viewed as significant, though. Okay, that doesn't sound as bad. I clicked move, and now Ramondre Stevenson is here in my lineup. And what you can see also is that my projected total jumped up. So let me do that again. When Joe Mixon is in, I'm only projected to score 111 points. When I put Ramondre in, I'm projected to get 122 points. So that's a lot better. Then I'm also looking for weak points on my team. My quarterback, in my opinion, is my weak point because he's only projected 14.9 points this week, which is low for a quarterback. And that's reflected by only 1.5% of leagues starting Michael Penix and only 15% of leagues having him on a team. So that means that I'm going to want to target a quarterback. Okay, so then Chris Godwin is out for a while. Joe Mixon is out for a while. I can actually free up space on the bench to add more players without dropping either of these guys. So I'm going to hit move. It won't let me do it on here. So I'm going to do manage IR. And I can send them to the IR. What is the IR? IR is injured reserve. That means they stay on your team, but they don't take up a bench slot. So boom. And then I hit done. So now Chris Godwin is on the injured reserve, and I have another bench spot. So in free agency, I can pick up somebody else. Okay. Let's go to add players. So I have looked at my team. I know what I need. I need a quarterback, preferably. So I'm going to go up here. You can select by type. So let's click on quarterback for me. And these are all the essentially free agents. But for now, they're on the waiver wire. Okay, so all these players are not currently rostered. They're all available. So let's go back to the team. Michael Penix projected 14.9 points. Okay, I'm going to try to beat that. Quarterback. Here are my options. Sam Darnold, 15.4. That's better. None of these guys are starting. Russell Wilson, 16.2. Daniel Jones, 17.2. Okay, let's click on Daniel Jones. Let's learn about him. Again, pretty low. Only 2.3% of leagues have him rostered, but I'm desperate. I can look at projections. And then also here, this is pretty helpful AI insights. So, Daniel Jones for week 1 gets an 85 out of 100 rating. And my average quarterback rate is 80. So, they think that's an upgrade. Look down at recent news. He's been named the starting quarterback against Miami. That's good. And he runs the ball a bit. Right? He could land on streaming radar due to his legs. I like that. So I'm going to hit claim. So now, this is who I'm trying to claim. I could either drop and continue and hit confirm to put in a waiver claim, or if I don't want to drop Michael Penix Jr., since I put Chris Godwin on the IR, I actually don't have to drop anybody. I can just claim Daniel Jones as is. So I hit confirm. And so since we're within 24 hours since the draft, that means that there's a 24-hour period of the waiver wire. Let's click on it. But basically, if any of these 8 players want Daniel Jones, they can put in a claim for him as well. And if they claim, say Crab Cakes wants Daniel Jones, and we both put in a waiver claim, the Crab Cakes have priority because they're higher on the waiver order. So I wouldn't get Daniel Jones. So for me to get him, none of these people can put him on their waiver. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's go back to the team and then the pending moves. So there's a nice red circle showing you that I have pending moves. Click on that. Right, I clicked on it, and it says conditionally add him from the waivers to the bench. For me, that'll process on the morning of August 24th, but that's because I'm 12 hours ahead. So for people on the East Coast, that'll be, Saturday night. So I feel good about my waiver. After the 24-hour period ends, all the players on Add Players just become free agents. So that means that I could just pick up the Cardinals defense and it wouldn't have to go through waivers. I wouldn't need to do anything crazy. I could just hit continue and then it would be add and it would happen immediately. You wouldn't need to wait until the waiver is complete. During the season, the waiver 24-hour period starts after Monday Night Football's game. So through Tuesday will be waivers, and then by I think Wednesday morning, players will just be available to add in free agency, instantly. So let's go back here. Okay. I can click on filter, and then let's say I want to look at players that are on rosters. So then I can see Saquon Barkley is on Max's team. I can see who Saquon's playing, what he's projected. So that's higher than my player. And his projected fantasy points this year. And then let's say that I'm interested in Saquon. I'm going to click this button here, which is trade button. All right, so now this is the trade portal. You can add as many players as you want, although I don't recommend doing this, for as few players as you want, right? So I could propose this trade if I wanted and hit continue. All of that. And again, this is ridiculous. I wouldn't do it this way. And then keep trade open for how long? How long do you want this offer to be available to the other player? So it could be for 24 hours if you're trying to be like, you gotta make a decision quick, or I can kind of be more lenient and say I'm going to keep this offer open to you for 7 days for you to think about it. And then I can also type comments in, or you can just text them individually. But if you want to put the comment in and say, hey, help me, please. Smiley face, send trade proposal. I'm not going to do that for real, but that's how you do it. So generally speaking with trades, it's a good idea to try to keep however many players you're trying to trade for with how many you're trying to give them, right? So a 3 for 3 is good, or a 2 for 2, or a 1 for 1. The reason why is because if you're doing like say a 2 for 1 or a 3 for 1, then that means that when I send Ashton Genty and I receive Saquon and Omarion Hampton, I have too many players on my team, so I would have to get rid of like a Rashad White or a Joe Mixon. So at that point, you might as well just give them that player who you would drop, and then let them make the decision of whether or not they want to drop them. Okay, so some trade strategy you can consider is what are a team's strengths and what are a team's weaknesses. So you could really come up with a trade with any other team just by evaluating, what do they need, what do they have too many of. So like, let's see, he's got some good wide receivers. He's got a lot more on his bench. He has 6 wide receivers. I don't know if he's going to be able to start Ricky Pearsall. So maybe he has too many of them, and I want another wide receiver. I could do that. But in my case, I think I'm weak on quarterback and running back, right? So you want to look at your own weaknesses. What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? So if I need a quarterback, so he's got Josh Allen, and you can only play one quarterback at a time, right? So does he really need Drake May here? Maybe not. So to me, I could maybe get away with this, but even then, Drake May, click on Drake May, 271 projected points this season. How about Michael Penix? 250. Okay, so close, but not quite. So that means maybe to sweeten the deal, I need to add something else. I have really good wide receivers. Tet McMillan, 213, questionable, but he'll be back. So maybe I'd say I'll give you Tet McMillan for Keenan Allen. See, he has like 30 points less. And if I'm not going to play Tet because I already have 3 wide receivers who I can play, then I can do that. And see how that's kind of balanced? He's giving me a slightly higher projected quarterback. I'm giving him a slightly higher projected wide receiver. To me, that would be a fair trade. Or similarly, I could do a 1-for-1 swap. If I thought I'm weak on running back, he's weak on wide receiver, I could do something crazy like let's do Saquon for Jamar Chase. 1-for-1, a running back for a wide receiver across different positions, right? So the positions don't have to match up. It doesn't need to just be Ashton, a running back, for Saquon running back. It could be anything. Say that I do Josh Allen for Michael Penix, and Michael Penix only has, 250 points projected, and Josh Allen has 365 projected points. This is a pretty unfair trade as is, but let's say that we go through and Max for some reason accepts it. Every trade that's accepted goes through a 24-hour waiting period where the league, all the other owners in the league, can review the trade and veto it if they want, or just do nothing. You could veto for any reason, but generally speaking, in the interest of fair play, I would say only veto if you think that a trade is unbalanced. If you think that, maybe Max and I are in collusion and I'm paying Max $50 on the side to give me Josh Allen, that's a no-no. You can veto that. So it takes 6 teams to vote, no against the trade for that trade to not go through. If that doesn't happen within 24 hours, then the trade will go through regardless of how unbalanced it is or balanced it is. So that's the trade portal. Fantasy cast. Once the week actually starts, this will show you, hey, this is my team. This is the scoreboard. My team, I'm projected to get 122 points. Tom's team is projected to get 120 points. It's really close. The chance to win here will change as the players update. Let's go here. So in play is how many players are playing currently. So let's say and again, my times are behind because I'm not in the US, but if I have 3 players that are currently playing in real life, say these 3 games are going on, then it'll say I have 3 in play, and then I only have 6 that 2 play means that have not played yet. Okay, then I can also click on other matchups and see Goofy Goobers projected for 120, 117. And you can just click through, kind of see what's going on in the league. So on a Sunday, it's great to pull it up and just see what the other teams are doing. Okay, click on scoreboard here. This is the same thing. It's just kind of a different view, saying generally here are who ESPN thinks are going to be their top players. Here's kind of a one slider, an easier formatted version of the matchups that week. I can also click to see, say, the last week of the regular season. Who's everybody playing? I'm playing the Canines. Those are the matchups that week. Great. You can also click on box score. And this will generate something similar to the fantasy cast where it just shows you the stats if you want to get nerdy with it. Okay, standings. This will update again after each Monday Night Football game, which is the end of each NFL week. And it'll show you wins, losses, and tie. So ties can occur if the 2 teams end up with the same amount of fantasy points, and that will be factored in the playoffs. Percentage is what your win percentage is, and then GB is games back. How many games back are you from making the playoffs? 8 teams out of the 12 in this league will make the playoffs. The playoff percentage chance means that most people will make the playoffs, and everybody has a good shot of making it. Then I can click on projected playoff bracket during the season to see what it's stacking up to be. It's blank right now because we haven't played games, but NFL Week 15 will be the quarterfinals, Week 16 will be the semifinals, and then Week 17 will be the championship. It'll be whoever was first in the standings will play the 8th, 4th versus 5th, 3rd versus 6th, 2 versus 7th for 1 week, 1 week, 1 week. And then say if you're one of the 4 teams that didn't make it, or if you lose in the first round of the playoffs and play for pride and just to finish the league higher than maybe you did in the regular season. So opposing teams, this is good. This is another way to look at trades. So I clicked on Mike's team. You can see his waiver orders behind mine. And this is another way that I can evaluate players, see who he's got. I could click this if I'm interested in him, or I could just propose a trade. So I clicked on trade, and now same thing, it opens up the trade portal. Okay, so I'm just gonna get out of that. Cancel trade. I did my pending moves by requesting to add Daniel Jones. I adjusted my starters to make sure that I have players who are playing, which is signified by this. It would say bye if they're on a bye. There are 18 weeks in the NFL season. Each NFL team only plays 17 games. So that means 1 week is a bye, which is a rest and recovery week. Let's look at Ashton's. I think this is last season, so this will update as we get closer to the season, but for, just consideration's sake. This says that week 10 is the Raiders' bye. That means I can't play Ashton. I need to find somebody else to play on week 10. Let's go to Joe Mixon. Okay, his bye is on week 14, perfectly. Let's say it's week 10. This up here for Ashton will say bye. His projected points will be 0. And that is the indicator that you need to remove him from your starting lineup and put him on the bench. Do not keep somebody on your starting lineup who is not playing that week. That is how you lose games. Hit move, and then I switch him for Joe Mixon, and then that'd be solved. But for week 1, Joe Mixon's out, Ashton's good, so I'm good with that. Same thing. Between Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, you should be reviewing how your players did, because that will adjust their projections for the future weeks. Projections will be adjusted based on who they're playing. For Jamar Chase, in his case, since the Cleveland Browns defense is not very good, that means that his projected points is really high, almost 20 points. So something to consider for your defense. There's a reason why I said don't spend more than $1 on defense. That's because the defenses are heavily reliant on who they're playing against. So the Chiefs, I paid $1 for them. They're playing the Chargers. They have 5.2 projected points this week. That's pretty good. But let's go back here and let's just look at defenses. As you can see, the teams that are still available, kind of all over the place. I could actually pick up the Cardinals because they're playing the Saints. This is called streaming. It means looking at the waiver wire every week and trying to find the best matchup. If I think that the New Orleans Saints are going to be the worst offense this year, then I might just pick up whoever the defense is that they're playing against. I might add the Cardinals this week, and then maybe if the Saints are playing, right, because they're projected, to get higher than any of these other options, 7.7 points. Say the Saints are playing the Commanders next week, then the Commanders' projection might be 8 points. So then I'd drop the Cardinals for that week and pick up the Commanders, and that's streaming. I adjust my defense from week to week. There are a couple of defenses, like maybe the Broncos or Steelers, where they're always good, but let's say that the Broncos are playing the Bengals. If the Bengals have a high-powered offense, the Broncos could actually net you negative points that week. So maybe you do want to stream and pick up somebody else who has an easier matchup. And kickers are also volatile, right? Kickers can kind of get in slumps and miss a lot and then lose their starting jobs just like that. You want to be cognizant of how your kicker is doing. And then Will Lutz has 8.1 projected points. Scroll down here. That's about the same as my guy. I'm just going to keep it as is. And that's it.